Thank you so much, the audience in the studio and our viewers at home. Welcome to this segment of our interview. Like I said in the intro, we're talking today about unwanted pregnancy and the challenge we face across Africa with teenage pregnancy and issues surrounding this. With me in the studio are two ladies. Danielle Gradwell is the CEO of Africa Cares for Life. Africa Cares for Life is a network of life-affirming pregnancy help centers in South Africa as well as in other countries that are connected to them. Danielle, you're welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jim.
It's good to have you here.
Thank you.
And you guys do a good work. And with her this evening is Sindi Khanyile. You're welcome to the show, Sindi.
Thank you for having me.
Sindi is a community worker and she works closely with Africa Cares for Life. Ladies, you're welcome to the show. We're talking here about unwanted pregnancy and the fact that you were saying it's a huge issue. Danielle, why is this a huge issue?
Well, I think, Jim, you just have to read what's in the paper. This week in the Mercury, the headline was 15,000 schoolgirls are pregnant, getting pregnant in 1 year. That is a huge statistic.
That's right.
And it's not only that, you know, there are many cases of babies being found abandoned by their mother, some dead, some still alive. And this has led to baby savers being installed to try and alleviate that issue. And then abortion itself was made legal in 1997. And in South Africa, yes. And there has been a 400% increase in the number of reported abortions since then to up to 2015.
400%.
400%. There were 93,000 and some 400 abortions reported for 2015, and that is only reported abortions.
So we're talking about 93,000 babies killed. And we're talking about statistics for South Africa now. And if we're to transpose this and add all the other African countries, this is probably extremely massive. We'll be talking of hundreds of thousands of unplanned pregnancy. And you sit with this, and the question is, why is this happening? Kanye, I come to you because I was reading your bio before we met. And I was shocked to find out that you had an unwanted pregnancy at the age of 14. Is this, tell me, how did that happen, and what do you see happening around you?
So at the age of 14, I had a teenage pregnancy, and it happens when, even in class, if the teacher teaches you about sex and it's a spoken subject, and in the day and age that we live in now, there's so many resources available. But where these young people, you will have a problem with when it comes to sex. And in my case, it was a matter of not being able to speak openly about the topic with my parents, which led to me having a teen pregnancy. And centers like Africa Cares for Life, thank God for them, helped me and my mother to navigate that situation and that chapter of our lives.
How did you feel when you found out you were pregnant?
So teenage pregnancy.
Because you were not expecting it.
Absolutely.
That's why they call it unplanned pregnancy.
Yes.
What's the emotions? Tell us a bit about what happens in the mind of the teenager at that point.
Okay, so teenage pregnancy is something that is spoken about, but we don't really speak to the teen mom. And it's quite an overwhelming time in your life, not only for the teenager that's pregnant, but also for the parents of that teenager.
Like what? What was going through
depression, being scared, what will happen now if somebody finds out about this pregnancy? Because school, what's going to happen with my education? Where am I going to live? My parents might kick me out. The father of the baby, is he going to be supportive? And I think your immediate response when you find out that you are pregnant, whether you, an unplanned pregnancy for that matter, whether you're a teenager or an adult with an unplanned pregnancy, is how do I make the situation go away? How do I press the eject button? And that was my response in that situation.
It's always, abortion is the easy and quickest option.
Absolutely.
And most people go for that.
and you find yourself making an uninformed decision. So having centers like pregnancy help centers that are affiliated with Africa Cares for Life helps the mother make an informed decision on what the next step is.
Dear viewers, we're talking to two ladies who are involved in helping people who face the challenge of unplanned pregnancy. We're talking to the CEO of Africa Cares for Life, Danielle, and a colleague of hers, Cindy. We'll go for a short break now. When we come back, we'll continue from where we stopped. Don't go away.
Do you have any opinions or comments on today's subject or any other issues in your country or around Africa? We would love for you to join the conversation. Please send us your comments by WhatsApp video, voice, or text message to the number on your screen or via Facebook, Twitter, or email. We may be able to include your text, audio, or video comment on a future show.
Welcome back, dear viewers, to this interview. We're talking about unplanned pregnancy, and it's like Danielle said in the other part of our first half of our discussion, it's quite a huge issue in Africa. Danielle, would you say that this is not just a huge issue out there, but also a huge issue even in the church?
You know, Tim, it is a problem. And I think the very place that should be safe for somebody to talk about, an unplanned pregnancy might be the place that would pressure somebody into making a decision that they're not comfortable with.
Is it because, Cindy, would you say it's because of a judgmental attitude we have in the church? Mm-hmm. I mean, what did you face? Were you in a church when you were pregnant at 14?
So unfortunately for me, no, I wasn't in a church at the time.
But what do you find with other young people? Do you find that the church is embracing, or do we come across a bit judgmental when the girl becomes pregnant?
I think in a way, even though the church doesn't directly judge the young person, but I find that young people do feel judged and misunderstood.
Okay, there's a perception.
Mm-hmm, there's a perception.
So it's not necessarily what the church does or doesn't do,
No.
but is there something we can change, Danielle? Because if we who are supposed to be the safest place for this, we're going to talk about how we can prevent this, but the fact that how do we become the safe place? Is there something you think we as a church should be looking at to make our place more, our space much more a safe space for people to feel vulnerable, to be helped, so that we can deal with the issue of abortions?
Yeah, well, I think, Jim, just like we all mess up all the time, and the church is a place where we can be mess-ups, but it feels like an unplanned pregnancy or a pregnancy outside of marriage, and it might be, as Cindy said, it's a perception.
Yeah.
It's not that the church
It's
doesn't
doing that,
embrace
but it's
this.
the way
Yeah,
the young people
but
feel.
I think because the church is and certainly in my experience, the church is the place where we don't talk about this. We don't talk about sex. We're not equipping young people with, discussions around sex, and that it's not just a physical act.
So the very fact that we don't bring this to the conversation,
Yeah.
so it makes them not even know where we stand on it.
Yeah.
Cindy, would you say that is one of the reasons for the perception?
Absolutely. So I work with the youth in our church, and I find that there's not enough transparency when it comes to the topic of sex.
So we need to bring this more and more into the conversation in our churches. Danielle, you help pregnancy help centers. Yeah. How do you support them? What do you bring? What are the resources that are available?
So Africa Cares is there. Firstly, our vision is to see a pregnancy help centre in every town and city in South Africa, so that the help is accessible for everybody. Because, as I said, it is a safe space, somewhere where you can go and talk through options, and somebody can just journey through the valley of decision. That's how I describe an unplanned pregnancy. So get very unbiased, unmanipulative, non-directive help with information as to what the options are. And then what we do as Africa Cares is we connect, support and advance the pregnancy help work in South Africa, because for a long time, pregnancy centres were operating in isolation. They thought they were the only ones doing this sort of thing. And then as we realised that there were more than just a centre in Durban doing this, there were centres in Johannesburg and Cape Town, we realised that there was a need to connect these centres and to gather together once a year at a conference and receive, instruction and teaching and encouragement in this ministry that we find ourselves in.
I know you have a conference every August.
Every August,
Every
yes.
August you gather together leaders from all the
Exactly.
different pregnancy help centers.
Yes.
And you spend that time to equip them. So viewers can go to the website on the screen and can get information about the next August conference that is coming on. Now, if a church is watching out there, maybe a church in Nairobi, is watching out there and saying, look, we would love to tackle this issue of unplanned pregnancy. What can Africa Cares for Life do? How would you come to the table for that church or
So we
that
offer,
individual?
We offer consulting, we offer assistance with startup, coming alongside a group of people who want to start, even one lone person who wants to start a pregnancy help centre. We'll come alongside. We have access to resources to help make the work a little bit easier. We have trainings. Consulting is a huge part of what I do with centres, just helping them
build up the very thing they're trying to do.
Exactly, so that they will flourish. Okay. That's kind of my heart, is to see pregnancy centres flourish around the country.
Sindi, tell me, the number of unplanned pregnancy is huge. 15,000 just this last year in South Africa. That will be hundreds of thousands in Africa. What can we do to begin to minimize it? Now we're talking about how to handle the unplanned pregnancy, but what can we do? I know you alluded to the fact of sex education in the church. What else do you think we can do? And Danielle, I'll come to you afterwards.
I think a big part of it is meeting young people where they are and getting to know young people and providing young people with the undiluted truth of what sex actually comes with, why we say wait until marriage, especially in the church context, wait before marriage. Why do we say that? What are the implications of sex?
Thank you. Danielle, what do you think? You grapple with this every day. What can we do better as a church, as Christians, to see the numbers come down in terms of unplanned pregnancy?
Well, Jim, I'm a bit nervous to tell the churches what to do, but I can tell pregnancy centres what to do. And every pregnancy centre, I encourage them to have one part of what they do is prevention. And that's going upriver and working to help young people before they need our help.
Yeah.
So that comes with a program that we teach pregnancy centres to minister and go into the schools and actually take the life orientation class and really talk about these issues, because I think young people think, it's okay if I don't fall pregnant or I don't contract a disease. I've got away with it. But what they're not seeing is that sex is not just a physical act.
Yeah.
It's an emotional and a spiritual, it has an emotional and a spiritual side. But nobody told me that. I knew that sex outside of marriage was wrong. My parents had done that, but never really why. We know that God has a plan for sex, but we never really understand why. And I think that's I'm a why person. And I think
I think teenagers are why people.
They are, especially teenagers these days.
Teenagers these days are not going to what to do or what is wrong. Why?
Yeah, exactly. Give me a reason. And I think role models are so important for young people. Role models who are actually living out sexual integrity and what it means for them and why they've made those choices. And so that's, as far as I'm concerned, every pregnancy centre, and if they don't have, I work very hard to encourage them to include that in the services that they offer.
Unfortunately, we would have to start winding this down. It's been such a beautiful conversation. And just to say to our viewers, if you are thinking of getting help on how to start a pregnancy help center, go to the website on our screen, and these ladies will be more than happy to help you no matter which part of Africa you're in. Danielle and Sindi will be taking a few questions from the audience, and before we wrap up, does anybody want to make a comment or have a question?
Good afternoon, Sindi and Danielle. I'm so happy to hear what you are doing. I'm working with the children at the moment. I'm in the kids ministry, and recently I've started the thing with the young girls. starting from age 10 to 15. But I believe that in all this, most of the time we concentrate on them when they are much older. But the route is that we've got to start before the preteen stages. Talk to them about sex and not hide anything. Even if it's in the church, we need to talk to them about openly, about the consequences, about the good of obeying God, what God says about sex. If they obey that what it's going to produce for them. And I believe that the church needs to concentrate a lot on those children from the primary age.
Good.
Thank you.
Good. That was more of a comment. I think she's buttressing what you're saying. Thank you so much for that. We go to the next one.
Okay, I wanted to ask, what is it that you are doing to help the church to be able to deal with this problem? Because okay, I have a little sister who actually fell pregnant. She was in the church, and she experienced a lot of rejection coming from the church, because we grew up getting taught that, you know, sex is a sin, but we're not really taught how to handle the consequences of having sex.
Danielle.
That's a very good question. So the first part of your question is, I think what the church could be doing is a lot more discussions around sex education, really, because, you know, the word you said was because sex is a sin. And I want to tell young people, sex is not a sin. Sex was God's idea. And the first thing I tell them whenever I address young people is, God wants you to have wonderful sex. And that gets their attention. I can tell you that, because they don't normally hear those two words in one sentence. And then I say, but there's one condition. And that's for your safety. And I think when young people see that it's not just God trying to be a spoil sport, that He has given us a wonderful gift, but it needs to be used within certain laws, and then it can be wonderful and life-giving. But we spend our lives taking what God has given us and putting our spin on it, and then expecting still to have a blessing from it, and that's the problem. So that's where I would start with young people, and we've got a program called Undiluted. It's the undiluted truth about sex. It's more a life skills program than just talking about sex, but it starts with fetal development and it ends with living with your dreams, because all young people have dreams, and they need to know that if they want to fulfill their dreams, the work starts now. It doesn't start when you're 20 or when you come out of university or when you're married. It starts right away with every decision that you make, right back from even, you know, junior school, in choosing the kinds of friends you want. So that's that part that I think the churches can help with, and Africa Cares can even help with that, because I do train that particular program, and it's a wonderful program.
Okay, as the mother of an 8-year-old, you know, I'm quite intentional about working on prevention. You know, the issue of abortion and all these serious decisions is actually quite scary for me. I want to start preparing my 8-year-old for when she has to deal with peer pressure and all the things that it comes with, you know, around sex. What tangible, practical advice do you have for me in terms of what conversations to start having with her now, so that I can begin the process?
That's good. Well done. Well done. I think that
especially you as a grandma, you should give that a shot. You should give that a shot.
I should have all this wisdom, you know. But I think if I just have to give you some advice, is I would start talking about the importance of relationships. And right relationships, and it starts, and so the Undiluted program is aimed at high school, but there's some parts of it that we used to even present when I was in the centre. We used to present to junior school, and we would focus on friendships. What kind of friends do you want? What kind of values do you have, and what values do you look for in somebody else? And really, even at 8 years old, she's just choosing best friends. She's not choosing, you know, boyfriend material right now, I hope, but to really instill in her self-worth, and that she's good enough and she's worth so much that she should be attracted to people who bring out the best in her, that aren't going to try and make her be somebody she's not. Because I think peer pressure is a huge thing at school, and it starts very young. And I think young people fall into the trap of, I've got to do this if I want to keep that friend.
Thank you so much, Danielle and Sindi. Thank you so much for just being vulnerable with us and sharing your wealth of experience with us. We've been talking to Danielle Gradwell and Sindi Khanyile, who are workers with Africa Cares for Life, a network of life-affirming pregnancy help centers across South Africa and also in other parts of Africa. We've been talking about the challenge of unplanned pregnancy and what the church can be doing. Thank you, ladies, for joining us. It's been so delightful talking through this difficult subject with you.